Greetings one and all. I hope you're all well today. So we continue with our wee seascape. Noordhoek, Long Beach, come Chapman's Peak. So yes, yesterday we just established the basic shapes of the layout and started to bring in some texture and what have you. Today I'm starting to work with the white a little more to start bringing that up, my highlight areas, etc. Just to work it up, not establish the highlights, because that will come in the final phase of using my white acrylic paint, but just to bring the form up a little bit more, dimensionality, etc. I don't think I need to add any color today. Well, let's see how it goes, because the color, as I said, is very selective. It's only going to appear in this kind of little stretch over here, so I can tackle that during the next session if it's required. So yeah, let me just continue here. And before that though, welcome to any new subscribers. There has been a few, so thank you for joining me, and hope you enjoy the sessions going forward. Do hit the bell icon though for any future uploads, and also like and comment if you will. You know, besides compliments, and I thank you very much for those always, but any queries that you might have as to what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, etc., something I might mention during my session. I talk about all sorts of stuff, and yeah, share as well. I appreciate it always, just to get some more exposure and so on and so forth. It's always appreciated. So yes, thank you for joining, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the session. I don't know what it will entail and what interruptions I might have. As I said during the last session, these sessions are recorded without any editing whatsoever. I simply record and then upload to YouTube immediately. So yeah, anything can happen. And whatever does happen, I don't edit it out. So yeah, I just keep it natural, straightforward. Is what it is. What you see is what you get. So yes, I also these sessions in particular, I prefer to record the process in its entirety. You know, the coming together of each artwork, is every single step is what you see. Yeah, that's the way I prefer to do it, because not only because I enjoy to share the entire process, but also I like to be able to record my reflections and my musings and mental meanderings. This is why this I've called these sessions my Artsy musings, because it's exactly what they are. I ponder questions and what have you, about all sorts of things, not just what I'm doing, what I'm busy with, but about life, and yeah, things that might occur to me or for me, and I just doodle along as I go. So I'm just adding a little bit of dimension to these rocks now. I'm hesitant to use. I might use my black Conte a little, but I'm hesitant to to deepen the darkness of these rocks, as I mentioned in the previous session as well. In the photograph, or the one photograph that I used to create my sketched reference, the rocks in the foreground were very dark, very, very dark, almost black. It might have worked as a photographic image, but not in this instance. So I need to, the focus is all on this wonderful gigantic wave powering through here, through the gap, and this is just what should I call it? Setting the scene. It's just props, really. This and that are props. They are there. They are in the actual photographic image. However, I've used them as shapes. As you can see, there's this triangular shape here, there's this triangular shape there. I kind of feel that it builds tension. It builds tension, which this wave is just popping through, and you'll see as the artwork develops. So, but nevertheless, I don't want to make this the primary feature of the artwork. So yeah, that's why I'm keeping it in mostly in charcoal. I'll use a bit of Conte for some of the little darker details, cracks and so on, and little fissures in the rocks, and also white Conte for the highlights, for some of the highlights coming through here, the water that's flowing through and trickling down over these rocks, etc. And that's it. I won't use any not in this piece. I'm not going to use any compressed charcoal, which is far too black for my liking for this piece. Yeah, so it's really about these shapes. The composition creates this almost visual tension, and then this release as the wave powers through. That's what's coming up for me. That's the kind of language that's coming up for me as I describe what I'm about. And there again, there's the other reason why I like to talk my way through and share the whole process, because I learn from my own lessons, basically. And even though these sessions aren't specifically tutorials, not at all. I'll get to that at some future stage, but for now, this is really as I set out to on this journey. When was it? Nearly 3 years ago. Goodness me, it's been a while. That I set about recording my art sessions, and I did so. You can hear the hardy-dars in the background. And I did so more because it was the beginning of lockdown. None of us in this whole world knew what was going to transpire. It seemed like a little bit of doomsday stuff. So first of all, I was isolated at home here, just the cats, the kitties and me. Well, Kit Kat and I, because it was Sage and Finn hadn't appeared at that point, yeah, it was my way of of kind of reaching out to the big world outside, engaging, and then it became more of a. I realized how much I was learning about myself, about my gift, about my skills, and how they were developing, and how they were growing. Yeah, so, and that's when I actually, it was then that I started getting into seascapes, or I just started doing a few seascapes, and then realized, wow, there's something powerful here, because I really enjoy the ocean. I really enjoy the ever-changing qualities that the ocean presents, and water in motion, rivers, waterfalls, etc. And not that I concentrate specifically on doing those. I do landscapes and still life and what have you as well. I admit, but I always seem to return very fondly to the old seascapes. There's such emotion in the ocean, and the ocean in motion is very emotional. So yeah, I enjoy depicting that, and I enjoy depicting the different moods and expressiveness of the sea. You'll see this piece is quite somehow different to others, in that it's like a steam train, huge big steam train. It's unstoppable. It's just charging forth, and you'll see this as it develops. So it's a little bit different from some of the other seascapes that I've done before, which have been kind of gentle and what have you. Different energies, and sometimes different colors according to because the mood, or the essence of the scene, of the subject, is always changing, due to perhaps the weather, the sky above, whether it's overcast or sunny, what time of day it is, what the wind is up to, changes the surface of the water, and so on and so forth. Just as here, you'll see, as I develop this piece, there's quite a strong offshore wind that is taking the tops off this wave as it powers through. So yes, there's all sorts of little nuances and differences in character that the ocean is always showing up, and I just love depicting that. It's a story in and of itself every single time, and yeah, and it's somehow being so not static. You can really, and as an artist, you can really absorb yourself in the whole passion and energy and vibrancy of the ocean. So, well, that's me. You know, I've always enjoyed, having grown up near the sea, and often going to the beach and spending virtually the whole morning, or even the whole day at the beach. As a child, in rock pools with a fishnet and goggles, snorkel, flippers, going around in the rock pools and trying to catch fish unsuccessfully, usually. And then into my teens, where I was quite an avid boogie boarder, and yeah, I say avid, not professional. I've never been the competitive type, for whatever reason. So sports in that sense don't appeal to me. Really, yeah. They leave me wanting. So again, that's just me, and other things inspire me, I think. So stuff like this. I forget the point that I was making. Yeah, so there's always this wonderful energy to depict, to pick up on, to observe, to depict, because it can be quite a challenge to actually render a frozen moment in time, and yet to capture the motion and energy. And as I've explained before on numerous occasions, I always enjoy allowing the artwork to create itself, and that's the reason why I can articulate to you what I'm busy with and what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, off topic perhaps. I'm just sitting here. I'm not focusing on what I'm not actually concentrating and focusing on what I'm doing. It's just carrying on. I'm doodling away here, and I can talk. I'm a guy, so I can't multitask in the same way that some women can. So I'm not focused on this. Trust me. My mind is wandering and what have you, and yet this artwork just comes together, and I give it its lead, give it its head to just happen for me, and I just follow whatever the calling is. So you see now, the foreground is still a little bit darker than the in fact, I still want to, I did threaten to do this yesterday. I just wanted to use my eraser a little bit here on this, just to soften this background a little bit as well, just to blend a little, soften a little, and I might even pull it up again and so on. Goodness me, this is lovely. I need to clean this eraser a bit. It's getting a little bit too much blue on it. Come on, come on. There we go. So I just use my eraser to kind of blend a little, soften a little, bring up a little bit of highlight through to the base paper here, and just it creates a little bit of detail as well, smudges and so on. Let's put that down again. I am going to leave the sky the grey of the paper. I'm reverting back to the principles of the principle of what I had started out these seascapes with, where it was just about the water, and my theory, and I still maintain that theory irrespectively. My theory is that I'm using selective color, and maybe I'm not filling in the sky because I want all of the focus to be on this little band of color over here, the blues and the greens, and by leaving the sky, or this part of the image where the sky is, the blue should be blank, and not even any no clouds. Nothing. Just leaving that open space. It just creates, to me, that I don't know, just nothingness, that an emptiness that is needed, that is necessary, just for a breather. We've got all this energy and emotion and what have you that's going on in the rendered area. Here it's just, there's nothing. So it's just yawning space. And that's perfect for me. I like that. And you might see it differently as the observer. And please, by all means, comment if you feel different or you have a different experience of it. Yeah, many of my pieces I do render the sky. This one was just, I'm not called to do it. The artwork is not asking for it, and I did take time to ponder that before starting, and yeah, it's come up a negative. So yeah, and I think it'll be better for it. The other important factor here, with reasoning behind that, is that what isn't there, the mind, your eye makes it up. Your mind makes it up. Your mind fills in the blank spaces, because everything else is there. The language is there. This is missing. This is void. Your mind fills it in blue, because the wave is going to be blue green. It's obviously there's full sun. It's kind of a sunny scene, yet it's in charcoal. Yet because it's obviously sunny, the mind just goes unconsciously blue sky. So once again, I urge you to comment. Tell me what your experience of that idea is. I'd love to hear it. I think in so many instances, and this is why I like to keep the abstract going a little bit in that sense, because if it was true realism, that blue would be there. It would have to be there. Those are the dictates of realism, isn't it? It's recreating it, what you see, exactly what you see. Here I'm using a great deal of license. I'm also using techniques with my tools and wares that are abstract in their application. This is not an exact replica of a photograph. It's not even an exact replica of the reference sketch that I've done, for that matter. This is just a series of squiggles and lines and highlights and working with light and shade, and that's what creates the story, or builds the story. Let me just soften this a little bit now. That's what makes something, to my mind, much more interesting, because when everything is there, when everything is clearly in front of you, there for you to see, there's no real interest. Okay, maybe there's, because of the composition, because of the focal points, etc., that keep the eye engaged, but other than that, when you mix something in, or not in this case, I'll leave the sky out, when there's something like that is discordant almost with what the expectation is, but the interesting thing is that it allows for the mind to tell a different story, or to tell a story of its own. So then it becomes your story, not my story specifically. So you then are enrolled into the artwork and into the journey and into the whole story of this piece and what it represents to you. That's what I find wonderfully challenging. It's like lingerie. It's leaving some things to the imagination. Yes, so I enjoy the excitement of that, of allowing that to take place. So that's the other reason I've decided to leave the sky blank. And I think the artwork as a whole will breathe better, will tell a more interesting tale. As we listen to car alarms going off in the distance. Ah, yes, there was that thing that I had forgotten to. I had forgotten to recollect. I'd started out with the telling a story, and then I'd forgotten it, and I had to go and I had to go and watch that part of the video from yesterday again, or from the previous session once more to remind me. So yes, I was saying about the BMW ad campaign. That was so darn clever. Back in the 90s, I think it was, perhaps mid 90s, unless I'm mistaken. Anyway, but to go back perhaps I don't know whether it was at the same time or whether it was a year before. I don't recall. But anyway, Mercedes-Benz South Africa made an advert, created a television ad campaign that featured a story about a Mercedes-Benz a chap in the 80s had a Mercedes-Benz W123, I think it was. It was an elderly car. Anyways, he was driving along Chapman's Peak Drive, and there's this series of curves as the road comes around these sort of headlands and dips in and out of the mountainside, and follows the contours of the landscape from Hout Bay through to Noordhoek here. And somewhere along the way, he lost control of his car and went off the cliff and went off the edge of the road and plummeted down. I don't know how far, maybe 20 meters or so. Crash, bang, turning over, etc., etc. Car came to its rest, and he emerged unscathed. And the whole reason, that was the whole theme behind the ad, was that Mercedes-Benz was, had it been any other car, perhaps the guy might have died. So Mercedes-Benz is built safely, strongly, etc., and what have you. It was a wonderful campaign. It was really well done. The storyline was good. The commentary was good, etc. And then I think it was actually shortly after, BMW came out with their own ad campaign, and it was this BMW, I think it was a 7 Series. This BMW was driving along the same stretch of the same road, Chapman Peak Drive, and when it came to I think the exact same bend, that same corner, and it went around the corner, and I think that I forget that there was maybe some rocks trickling down, because there's always a lot of rock falls along this. It's sometimes treacherous. They've implemented means of safeguarding against rock falls and so on and so forth, but it's happened anyway. So there's all this, and the driver is going around these little rocks that have been fallen and scattered on the road in front of him, and then he comes around this corner and then takes this corner perfectly composed, etc., and continues. And then the byline at the end of the ad says BMW beats the Benz, BENDS, and it was a direct comparative advertising. It was a direct hit against Mercedes-Benz, so beats the Benz. So yeah, I as I recall, the ad had to be taken down after a fairly short period of time, but it had hit home in no uncertain terms. It was incredibly clever, and I forget who it was that had actually done the ad campaign, which advertising agency. I really do forget now. It was such a long. It was far too many years ago, and but very, very, very clever. And BMW and their agency used to have some brilliant ads in those days. I haven't watched television in years now, so I don't know what they're doing these days, but there were some very clever ads in those days, and it was when comparative advertising was kind of overlooked a little bit. It was just, yeah, it was kind of the advertising, what is it called? I forget. The advertising board wasn't as strict as it became years on, where you simply couldn't do any comparative advertising in that way. But I think it was so tongue-in-cheek and so cleverly done, and it didn't actually say BMW is better than a Mercedes-Benz, but it said because it beats the Benz, so it wouldn't go over, and anyway. That was the little story that came to mind as I was talking about Chapman Speak here. Very clever, and of course it appealed to me, having spent many years in advertising, and I also used to try and write interesting tongue-in-cheek headlines and that sort of thing. I used to try and come up with something creative all the time that had a play on words, and just like the beats the Benz thing. Yeah, I always enjoyed that. A little bit tongue-in-cheek as well. I enjoy the humorous side of things, and I think that perhaps Mercedes-Benz even saw the humorous side of things, because you're not going to sway a Mercedes-Benz driver away from his car, and nor you get the loyal customers, and the same applies to BMW. So it was kind of in jest and in all good fun and what have you. And it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going on about it now, but yeah, I just had to mention. I had to talk about that, and anyway. Anywho. I wonder who it was that I must see if I can find out who the advertising agency was, and it was TBWA. I think it might have been. It might have been Hunt Lascaris, TBWA Hunt Lascaris. I don't know. It might have been BBDO. Might have been Ogilvy. I don't recall. Really, they had some, BMW had some really good ads. Just like Nando's and those kind of companies that, and they still do, have very clever advertising, and they're very much on the button as far as their responses to national and sometimes international events and what have you, political events and what have you that are going on. Yeah, they've always had some very clever wordplay and clever imagery, and goodness me, they really are. They're the advertising agency who handles the Nando's account is top notch. Also, you know, it's not just about the agency, it's also about the art director, it's about the copywriter, script writer, whatever it might be. You know, you've got a team of people that put their heads together and bring up these fantastic ad campaigns. Is it still that way? I don't know. I'd like to think it is. I'm long since out of the game. Sometimes I miss it, creatively speaking. Other times not at all. So I'm going to first render this wave as far as possible with charcoal, and then go over it with color. So we got that richness of both texture and lighting to work with as an underlayer, if you will. I'm just going to slowly build this up. Wow, I've been talking all this time and I haven't realized that we only have 5 minutes left. My word. Well. Anywho, all good. So, in the next session, we shall introduce a little color. We might even be able to complete this piece during the next session. I don't know. I've said 1 of 4, 2 of 4. I don't know. Let's try and stick to that. I'll stick to take it easy. I'll just take it easy. Cruise through this thing. Just allow it to slowly come together. There will also be a little bit of color, just a touch of color, and this is all white here, but there will be a little bit of lilac and pale blue perhaps just on the to kind of give us a little bit of depth as well. So once again, virtually the entire piece is charcoal, and the charcoal is exposed. Many of my other pieces, the charcoal is there always, but it just recedes because of the application of color. I mean, even though you can spot it, but in this instance and the previous artwork, it was. Charcoal is very prevalent, which is the way I'm almost coming back to my roots with these pieces right now. That's the way, I like it. Nothing much to look at right now, of course, but as I said, I'm just building up contrast and a little bit of the drama in charcoal at this point, and just to give it some foundation. I've never used makeup, by the way, just saying. So yeah, so I'll start to bring up the white in this wave during the next session, at the beginning of the next session, and then it will start to pop a little bit, and then I'll start to integrate color, and then it will start to pop. So all good. Anyway, thank you for joining me during this session. I hope you've enjoyed. And thank you for putting up with my mental meanderings. So yeah, tune in again next time, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So yeah, if you do, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and the bell icon for future uploads, notifications, and blah blah blah, fish-based. Like, share, comment, etc. So yeah, in the meantime, see you again tomorrow or during the next session, and meantime, have a fantastic day further. I bid you oodles and oodles of toodles, and until I see you again, be good, be kind, be gentle, be caring, be loving, etc., etc. See you again next time. Bye folks, and don't forget to doodle.